Okay, hi there. I decided to do a video actually of some food that I cook or prepare or eat. I get a lot of requests actually of people either through my Instagram or my Facebook page. Not so much requests really, but have you done a video? And I have put 1 or 2 videos up about 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago up on YouTube. But technically it was quite complicated for me to do in my tiny kitchen. But a friend had actually sort of given me a clamp where I can actually attach my camera, so I decided to experiment today. And I'm also going to be experimenting with a very simple dish that I'm actually going to have for lunch today. And it's actually a bread soup Alchemist style, which is actually a Portuguese soup. There's lots of history actually with this soup, because it's actually one of the soups that go way back when in history in the Alchemist region, and it's basically where the Moors occupied. So it's a classically a bread soup that sounds really peasant-like, but it's absolutely amazing. It's really delicious, and it's so simple, and it's got very little ingredients. And I fell in love with it when I was actually in Portugal last year. And classically it's made with the brow bread, which is the mijo bread, which is the corn bread that's made in the northern part of Portugal and throughout Portugal. But basically you can make it with any stale bread, so anybody who's got any sourdough, any of the dense breads work really well. I'm actually going to use my the last bit of the quinoa bread, which also I posted about how easy, and it was a no-knead bread, and you can actually I decided that I really fancied having this soup because it's more like it's got poached eggs in it. So I will be I'll show you how it's done. So I'm using this last hunk of bread. Again, if it's a family of 4 or 4 people, you just double up all the ingredients. But since this is for myself, this is probably I would say this is about a cup of rice. Normally you make 4 cups of rice, so it's basic. Not rice, sorry, bread. So you would have a cup of bread per person. So this is going to be enough for me, maybe a bit leftovers, but I'm super hungry, so no doubt I can probably eat it quite comfortably. This bread is still quite moist. It's been in the fridge, so what I plan to do is I plan to actually give it a bit of a fry in olive oil, just a fraction, because the recipe actually comes with olive oil anyway. And just to give you a bit heads up on the ingredients, so we've got the bread, the stale bread, all right. I've got 2 cloves of garlic, which is going to be mashed up in this mortar and pestle, with a bit of salt. I've got some coriander that I've already taken off the stalk. The actual recipe says half a cup. There's probably about half a cup here, maybe even a quarter of a cup, but I quite like a lot of coriander, and that's all it is. So it's basically olive oil. I happen to have some olive oil here as well, and it happens to be Portuguese. So any olive oil though, because you'd be actually just putting it in the soup base, but I tend to have just 1 or 2 types, and I never go for the blends, because I just don't like them. I always go for the extra virgin oils, or any oils that I think is a good value and is actually pure, and sometimes unfiltered as well. Okay, so all I'm going to do now is just start frying my bread, just to get it started. And you just take it in a saucepan. Okay, so you make sure you've got a saucepan. And I'm just going to do that. So I've put the gas cooker on, and I'm just pouring some olive oil. Again, when I cook, I'm not really into so much measurements. You've got to just kind of use your intuition. The recipe for the 4 actually sort of states a quarter of a cup, but I put just really good amount at the base of my pan. I can even show it to you. So I've just covered the base of the pan, if you can see it. Okay. And I'm just going to put some bread in it and just toast it lightly before I put in the coriander and the garlic, which is not even ready yet. Okay, you actually want to break the bread into pieces, and this is why when it's stale, you just want to make it into good little chunks of pieces. Okay, now this is, I'm expecting this bread to crumble, and this is why I'm frying it up first, because I don't want it to be a mush. I want it sort of toasted. Again, with cooking, you just have to use your intuition, kind of your gut instinct. Know your ingredients. And it's always experimental, anyway. So in the meantime, I'm just going to do my garlic. You just give it a bit of a squeeze. You can get the peel off quite easily. Okay. Now I'm just going to roughly chop it because it's going to get chopped down further in the mortar and pestle. If you haven't got a mortar and pestle, just grate it, which you can. I think I've done it grated. In fact, I've even done it finely chopped. You know, it just depends if you don't mind garlic. I mean, I don't mind garlic at all, so I don't mind if the bits are actually in the soup, or this sort of soup bread. So you just keep on pounding it till you get a really nice paste. And if you actually got somebody in the kitchen to help you, like your partner or a child, you know, you can give them this job to do while you get on chopping and doing something else. Now into kind of a paste, but you can keep on going to really kind of like a white, you know, without the lumps. But you can see here, it's turned quite mushy, and all the juices are made it really sticky. If you notice that garlic, particularly when it's roasted, it's very sweet, so it kind of releases some sugars of its own. But here's the paste, and I'm just going to quickly chop the coriander as well. My board is not flat. Cloth down. So again, if you have these kind of issues with the board, just put a cloth down so it keeps it steady, and then you've got a better platform to do your chopping. And again, if your knife skills aren't great, that's all right. Just use some scissors as well. You know, you can just snip, keep on snipping it to get into, you know, kind of like a fine texture. So you can hear in the background that my quinoa bread is being crackling. It smells gorgeous. So beautiful. It's going to be really good. But what I'm going to have to do is going to take the quinoa bread out, because I need to put the garlic and the coriander into the pan with some water. Okay, this doesn't even need any stock. It's just made with you know, about a quarter of a pint of water. Again, you about half a pint or even a pint. Again, it depends on how wet you want it to be. All right. Remember, it's a bread soup, so the bread's going to soak up quite a bit of the liquid. Right. In fact, I'm just going to take my quinoa bread out. Okay, so I don't know if you can see that. Okay, I'm just kind of taking the bits of quinoa out. You can hear it all crispy. That crispy bit can go on top. Okay, I will try and make a video of the bread that I made, because it's actually really such an amazing bread. And I think once you make that bread, you're just not going to go and not make it ever again. It's a easy bread to make. It can get a little messy, but not hugely. I don't think any more than any bread making, actually. So in terms of actual bread making, it's very easy and very less messy as well, and less physical, because you're not constantly kneading the bread. So I'm going to add a bit more olive oil into my saucepan for the garlic and the coriander, and I'm just going to add them both into the pan. Alright, again you can hear it. Just to show you quickly, there we are. Now let's give it a bit of a stir. Okay. And I'm just going to put a bit of boiling water, which I already boiled in the kettle, so I'm just going to put it straight in. And the good thing about this water now in the base of the pan, we'll take some of the quinoa that got stuck at the bottom of the pan and just let it come off. And I'm just going to leave it to bring to boil. And that's it, as far as that's concerned. So here's my quinoa. You can see in the bowl that it is quite in bits, in little chunks, and some crispy bits. I mean, in the end, it's going to be like a bread porridge. You know, the bread is supposed to get soft in the soup. Okay. And again, depending on the bread, because I'm actually making this, if I put this in and cook it for quite a while, it's going to fall apart and just turn into grains. And I want to poach my eggs as well. So what I'll probably do is throw that in and actually put the egg straight in rather than have the bread sit for too long in the pan. Okay, I love the smell of garlic and coriander. It's such a fantastic combination. You know, you can make lots with garlic and coriander alone. Lots of Indian food, Oriental food, moulmein, you know, mussels. You can also do. It's great. Okay, so I'm just going to put my bread in a minute, and I'm also going to get my eggs ready to actually crack into the pot. So here you can see the eggs actually in the pot. Okay, I'm going to leave it for a few minutes, put the lid on just for it to poach. I put the quinoa in and I put the eggs in straight away, so like I said, the quinoa doesn't overcook. It may fall apart, but that's fine by me because it'd be just a nice little nourishing bowl of quinoa that's been slightly fried in olive oil, fresh coriander, 2 cloves of garlic, so puree down and cooking off with the eggs right now. So we'll come back to the next shot. So while that's cooking, I'm just going to get the bowl ready. But just to say that here in the UK, in London particularly, we've got big, a lot of the ethnic stores that sells a lot of coriander bunches, you know, in really generous bunches. So this kind of thing is a really good way of using your coriander up, or cilantro, as some of you might know it as. But it's a really good way of doing that. Otherwise, you know, you get these sort of tiny packs or really thin packs of coriander from supermarkets, which don't really get that far. You probably make a guacamole with it. But the coriander, of course, you can use for guacamole. You can use it for Indian food. I've got some left, which I had, and I don't know if you saw it earlier in the shot. But I'm actually keeping that because I'm going to make some Indian pakora type fritters, if you like. It's a cross between pakora, so it's not heavily deep fried, but at the same time it's some kind of fritters with all the same spices of the blend of the Indian food. And fresh coriander is something I put in because it gives it a really nice green colour as well as taste as well. So that's kind of the other thing that you can actually do with lots of coriander. You know, be creative. You know, if you have things in your fridge, think about how you can use it up rather than just sort of leaving it where it so wilts so badly that you end up sort of throwing it away. The other thing, of course, you can do with coriander is you can actually chop them down and stick it in a freezer bag and stick it in the freezer, or you can even cook it down. A big bunch with some garlic, and then stick that in the freezer, and therefore every time you need to use it, you can just throw it in a pan as a base of your soup or whatever, Thai soup or something. Okay, so I've also just been picking out the seeds, the toppings from the bread, which I'm going to sprinkle just on top of the soup when it's ready. So okay, so I'm just going to have a quick look. It's not even been about 5 minutes, and I feel that it looks sort of ready to me. You can see that. Whoa, there. All right, it's quite a runny soup. I've maybe put a bit too much water in this one because I've not made it with quinoa, but I guess that the bread would have soaked it up a bit more. But that said, it's going to be delicious either way. I know that for a fact. So I'm just going to scoop it in my bowl here without wanting to break the egg. Okay, these eggs actually are from Waitrose, and they're not that great. So, you know, I think Marks and Spencer's do better eggs, personally. But wherever you get your eggs from as well, you know, some of it holds better than others. This one's broken, this little poached egg. But I didn't have any breakfast, so I'm going to have a really big, robust soup for my lunch. It's 2:15 as it is, so I am starving. I've just been outdoors doing a bit of a workout, so this is something I've been looking forward to coming back to have. So and a bit of fresh black pepper just to finish it off, and voila, you've got your soup there. See if I can come in a bit more. The other way. Okay. So I hope you enjoyed that little bit of video. It is a bread soup al jento style with any stale bread, a bit of olive oil, garlic, coriander, and what else, and a bit of boiling hot water, and eggs if you want to have it poached. If you don't do eggs and you're vegan, I guess you can just eat it without. Maybe even put some kind of vegan cream in it if you want some protein, maybe, or even some beans. Okay, so you can improvise, but the base soup is really fabulous, especially with the eggs, and it's a cheap and cheerful way to be nourished. So Food Alchemist, Rafa, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you another time. Bye for now. Bye. You know, and you really always have to do one with it tasty. It's very good, really good. So, really good. Bye for now. Bye.